Good morning and welcome, Hargrave alumni, faculty, staff, and friends of Hargrave, to the dedication of the Dot Blair and Mary Talent Reading Center. My name is Janice McLaughlin, and I am the current reading instructor here at Hargrave. At this time, I'd like to introduce Dr. Jimmy Tung, our academic dean, to give you a little bit of history of these two beloved teachers.
Thank you, Ms. McLaughlin. So hopefully you can hear me in the back now. It's fitting that we're standing here in front of Cosby Hall because in 1959, Hargrave President Colonel Cosby had a vision to create a program that focused not only on the struggling reader, but on the good reader that wanted to be more proficient. He understood something that was true in 1909, remained a concern in 1959, and in fact remains to be an issue here for teens in 2022. Namely, students love the technology of the time. In 1909, it was the fancy wireless radio. 1959, they were excited about black and white televisions. And in 2022, we won't even talk about what's on the internet and how that distracts teenage minds. But what he also knew was that cadet minds are open to the rest of the world, not in little tidbits and little snippets of 140 characters, but through the written word. That a Hargrave man need to have this in his toolbox. He needed to have the ability, the strong ability, if not love, to read. Without that ability, he would not be able to become a leader of character prepared for lifelong success. So, Colonel Cosby, in order to make this vision a reality, he reached out to a professor at the University of Virginia, recognized as a leader in both the research and practice of teaching reading. In turn, that professor identified one of his young, promising students, a Miss Dot Blair. In her 40 years, she never wavered from her commitment to work with each cadet on a one-to-one basis, not only to improve their reading skills, but also, more importantly, to improve themselves. That work was recognized as schools around the country have actually come on in to study how Hargrave taught reading. Additionally, cadets may not have recognized the power of any academic chair here at Hargrave. Ms. Blair worked tirelessly behind the scenes to make sure that her faculty understood what it took to equip each young man. So while you may be here because Dot Blair, Ms. Blair, was your reading teacher, you all have classmates who were impacted by the reading program here at Hargrave. Ms. Blair, in particular, would want to know that we spent a moment here to recognize all her peers, because it wasn't just her reaching to impact cadets, but it was all her peers in the reading department also. So for a moment here, let me go through the list over the last 40 years, 50 years really, of cadets, or of faculty that were instrumental in these cadets' lives. Mrs. Ballant, Mrs. Buchan, Mrs. Fole, Mrs. Gate, Mrs. Gorley, Mrs. King, Mrs. Lyle, Mrs. Maynard, Mrs. Parsons, Mrs. Ramsey, Mrs. Starkey, Mrs. Smith, Mrs. Turner, Mrs. Weber, Miss Williams, and Mrs. Whitehead, and of course, one other faculty member that my colleague will now introduce. Thank you.
Good morning again. It is my pleasure to introduce Miss Mary Talent, who is also being awarded this dedication today. Students in Aiken, South Carolina, Augusta, Georgia, Tennessee, and Asheville, North Carolina were blessed with her teaching for decades before she and her husband, Coach Major Talent, and their son, Major Jr., came to Hargrave in the fall of 1968, where she joined the reading department. After Coach Talent's death in 1973, Mary Talent chose to stay on at Hargrave, like other teachers in the reading department. Mrs. Talent especially enjoyed working one-on-one with students that were bright but struggled with reading. In the mid-1980s, she began teaching in the English department as well as in the reading department, and continued until she retired in 1998. After retiring, she was asked to write the history of Hargrave, continuing from where the previous history, written by Colonel Cosby, ended in 1969. Her book, Years of Change, Years of Growth, was published in 2003 and is still available today. Like other former Hargrave teachers, she has many tales, and we're sure that some version of some of these tales will come out over the course of this homecoming weekend. Please give a warm welcome to Mrs. Mary Talent.
Thank you for coming out. First, I would like to congratulate the President, Sloan Gibson, of having the intelligence to start the program back. I'm honored to have my name on the plaque, but I will have to say that all the credit goes to Dot Blair. She was the jewel in the crown. She is the one who really started the program. Georgia May Cruz, who was our librarian at the time, started working with individuals, but then when Dot Blair came, she took the program and ran with it and made it into a real gem. I always enjoyed working with the students. Not all, I'll tell you, there were some that... but fortunately, most of these didn't stay around too long. And they all may not have all been the sharpest thing, but they were hard workers and good people. And that's what I so love and enjoy seeing people who have made good citizens of character who help make this country better. I think that's just wonderful. And you just have no idea how much a teacher's heart rejoices when they see students who have done something for themselves and have become good citizens. It is so wonderful. And on the other hand, when you hear of bad things happen to them, you just grieve. I have to tell you one story in particular. His name is Ron. I won't give his last name. He came in the 9th grade. And he probably should have been a 10th or 11th grader then, because he had dropped out of school. And he was reading on about a 4th grade level, had never read a book in his life. And I started with him, and he could not handle particularly the literature they had in English. He could not handle the history books, so I recorded it for him, and he could listen and get it. Well, after Christmas, he decided, you don't have to read it to me anymore. And I said, well, I'll be glad not to do it, but if you need it, let me know. And I insisted, Ron, you've got to read a book. He'd never read a book in his life. And I asked him, I said, well, Ron, what do you like to do? He says, I like to fish. Well, there are not too many books out there about fishing. But I gave him a copy of Old Man in the Sea, and he loved it. That was a turning point in his life. And from then on, he started to read. I worked with him for 2 years, and then I would see him in the hall periodically. And when he was a senior, he came by one day and he said, have you ever heard of Ralph Waldo Emerson's Self-Reliance? I said, indeed I have. He said, where can I get a copy? I said, well, there's excerpts in the literature book, He says, no, I want the whole thing. Dr. Spradlin had told him on study hall to read several lines. I said, Ron, I'll tell you, it's tough reading. He said, that's okay. I'm gonna try it. He came back by a couple of weeks later, and I said, Ron, how was several lines? He says, I enjoyed it. I said, well, now, did you understand it? He said, I understood 3/4 of it. And I said, hallelujah. you go from 4th grade level to understanding most of Ralph Waldo Emerson. I think that's pretty good. And I have to tell you, now this was one summer, I guess it's probably early 80s, I had a group of rising 6th graders. That means they left the 5th grade and they were going to the 6th. So it was about 11 years old. And I always got to class 20 to 30 minutes early to get in and get my teacher persona on. And this little kid was sitting out there waiting for me. I said, my gosh, you're mighty early. And he said, well, I've just got to tell you something. And I said, well, what is it? He said, I want to tell you, but I'm scared to tell you. And I said, well, have you done something bad? No, he hadn't done anything bad, but I'm scared to tell you. Will you promise me that you won't get mad? I said, I can't promise you that. It's called a And he said, I said, but you're just going to have to chance it. And he said, you remind me of my grandmother. Then he said, now are you mad? I said, tell me, do you love your grandmother? He said, oh, yes, I love her. And I said, well, then I'm certainly not mad. But guess who got little treats handed to him the rest of summer school? I know y'all got other things to do, but I could go on with tall tales, but I won't. But I appreciate the honor, but still, it's Doc Blair who gets the recognition, really. But I thank you.
Hargrave would like to thank all who have supported the reading program this year and would also like to give a special thank you to Proctor Dean, class of '84, for making the Dot Blair and Mary Talent Reading Center possible. Please, you're welcome to go into Cosby and look through the Reading Center after the ceremony concludes. Thank you very much.